How's it going, guys? It's Than from Tidal Gardens. Now, it just occurred to me that I haven't done a greenhouse video in quite some time, and really we do a lot of upgrades here. And in particular this past spring, we made 3 big changes. So let's go over some of those now. First off, here's a quick look at one of our newest systems. It's been a work in progress for about a year now, I would say, and it's suffered from a bit of project creep, especially when it comes to return pumps. We started with just one, and then had to add a second one for more flow. Then we added sea swirls and then gave them their own return pump. Finally, we added in a large skimmer that needed a feed pump, so what started with just one pump now required 4. I was certainly looking forward to this change because I don't like having a snake pit of wires around my tanks. There is always going to be one to some degree, but here was an opportunity to remove a bunch of pumps and free up outlets. Replumbing a system like this was a bit of an ordeal because there's a total of 11 separate tanks that make up the unit as well as a sump. We chose to install a single large reflow hammerhead pump and split up the various return lines with a 1.5-inch manifold. The hammerhead pump is actually the gold model, which has an upgraded ball door motor. The manifold was constructed using several True Union ball valves, which allowed some degree of flow control, as well as making it possible to service each line separately while the system continues to run. I've gone on and on about how great True Unions are in other videos, so I won't belabor the point here too much. I will say though that I've never regretted installing a True Union. Here is the pump finally installed and tucked under the system. I'm thrilled with how the new pump is performing. Not only did it replace 4 other pumps, but it provides noticeably more flow and actually consumes less electricity. The second major project at the greenhouse was the addition of new shade cloths. I've probably said it 100 times in other videos, but the summer is no fun for our corals. It's way too bright, it's way too hot, and things tend to really struggle. This summer, I was determined to knock down the amount of sun that gets into the greenhouse by installing additional shade cloths overhead. This is no regular shade cloth, however. It's made from a product called Aluminet, which is basically woven aluminum. In addition to providing shade, it reflects much of the sunlight away. This helps keep the greenhouse cooler during the day. An added benefit to Aluminet comes into play at night when it gets colder. These shade cloths bounce infrared light down to help warm the tanks, which will be very helpful in the winter. Everything in the greenhouse soaks up heat during the day and radiates infrared light. Normally that light radiating from the greenhouse is lost to the atmosphere, but the Aluminet shade cloths act as a mirror and sends it back down to provide a secondary heating effect. Okay, going along with the heat management theme, we installed whirlybird vents on top of the greenhouse. Before, we had these automatically opening vents, which were great at first, but we noticed that the piston that opens and closes the vents would start to fail, and then the vents would either stay stuck open or closed. Not so good. Venting the top of the greenhouse in the summer is vitally important because it can get pretty crazy hot up there. I'm talking like about 150 degrees. These spinning vents are each rated for 1,300 square foot areas, and we're using a total of 3 of them. The greenhouse is just over 1,300 square feet, so theoretically we have far more cooling capacity than we need. Alright guys, that pretty much does it for the greenhouse. There's only one other announcement that I wanted to make, and it involves Twitter. Plenty of folks have asked me for up-to-the-minute updates on when certain corals come into stock, and it's not really practical for me to try to remember who asked for what and when. So what we started to do was whenever we post new corals online, we send a tweet that same minute. So if you want the absolute up-to-the-minute notification on when and what we've been selling on our website, please follow us on Twitter, and everything is hashtag with TG Live. So check us out there. Thanks again and happy reefing.